Wake up in the morning. Wake up, Atlanta. It's time for coffee. Talk presented by Spotify. Fresh vibes, real talk.
Let's get started, shall we?
Yes, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome back to another exciting episodic podcast show here today. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Coffee Talk presented and powered by Spotify. And boy, howdy, let me be clear that you guys are amazing. You guys have been liking the content. You guys have been tuning in to all of the podcasts this week. First and foremost, welcome in this morning. Good morning. If you're tuning in on Wednesday morning at 8 a.m., we thank you guys so very much for that. We love you guys that tune in. Let me tell you, everybody that tuned in, whether it's on any audio platform you get your podcast from, YouTube, Facebook Watch, Spotify for video, of course, one of the big sponsors for the show, iHeart, Amazon, or even Instagram and LinkedIn. Let me tell y'all something. I thank y'all so very much because I have been getting a lot of people that are commenting, they're DMing, they're loving the content, they're loving the show. And even my families and friends out there in the world that I'm out and about, they see me. I've been told that people have been loving the podcast shows. It's a blessing to come back to the Studio Latte, to give you guys another exciting show with Coffee Talk. A lot of people have been liking Play Grid Sports Podcast, all audio version from Amazon Music that we solely talk about sports on that show. And also, I got to give a shout out to my girl, Evelyn Letitia. Shout out to you, E, if you're somehow watching this episode of the Coffee Talk podcast. What had happened was officially back. We uploaded and premiered the first episode back into the new space on Monday, this past Monday. You guys can go check it out. What had happened was podcast, or also on WHHW Radio 1's Instagram. That's what had happened was Instagram page, because we've been uploading content. We've been uploading each segment on the show. That podcast is ever growing. And I do want to say to a lot of people on that show, with the set, we're still adding some things to the set. That may not be the final look of the new set. We did some reassessment, and we watched, of course, me and Evelyn, we watched the show, and the cameras looked really great because the new set that we're in, the new studio space, it has windows. So we were able to have more sunlight in there, but I think we're going to just kind of swap up the backdrop just a little bit for the next recordings, the next time. Then after next week's episode, we're going to come back and we're going to tweak some things. So I do want to say to a lot of people, that's not the final look of the show. I like it because we have more windows. We have not only the lights, the cameras, but we have windows now. And I think that just gives us more of a vibrant, brighter look for the show. So I do say to a lot of people, that's not changing. Coffee Talk, we're here in the studio. No windows in this one. We just have the backdrop painted on the wall here, the lights, the cameras, the glitz and glamour, but no windows. So this show is not changing. It's not going anywhere. But I'm really, really happy about it. I'm really happy about us coming back for what had happened was. I'm really happy about this show, Coffee Talk, being like just an all out great success. I think a lot of people just love it. I love it because it's a theme show. I do love coffee, even though now now I've been drinking tea because coffee has milk in it, and if you guys don't know, with my thyroid thing, I can't drink so much. So much milk and cheese and dairy, but the show's still called Coffee Talk because on occasion I drink coffee. I dabble down and I drink my coffee. So I'm very, very thankful for that as well. I'm so appreciative for everybody out there that's just been watching the shows and just been liking the content. This just is ever growing. Even went to the gym yesterday, and the gym trainers and then people checking me in and say, hey, you know who this is? That's Kennedy. You see his latest episode on his podcast, And I always say that because I appreciate it, but I always try to act like I'm hot. I try not to act like I'm hot shit because I think I'm pretty dope at what I do, but like I'm still a human being. I'm not a celebrity. I'm not a superstar yet, anyway. I'm just regular schmegular old Kennedy. So I appreciate it. when it comes down to it. And to our entire cast and crew that's here in the studio that's getting ready for their stories as well. I thank you guys so much. You guys know who you are. I see Hope. I've got Marcus, Rachel, and Sarah. Who else am I? Dave. I see you back there, Dave. You guys are amazing. And down to our new people like Avery Davis. He's one of our directors for the show. He's also here in the studio as well. As you guys going to see towards the end of Play Grid Sports in this show, we're gonna have our end credits, and we hired some new people. That's gonna be some of the people are writers and the radio mixer, engineers, and whatnot. They're here in the studio, so I thank y'all so very much because you guys make the show. You guys make the show pop, and it's quite amazing. So I just gotta say, I just gotta spend my thank yous because a lot of people just they you guys have been liking the content this week. And we try to do as much as we can when it comes down to the content. There's been some days, hey, when I'm tired in the morning, I'm still rushing in here to give you guys a show because I now I'm in the season that I'm getting my spark back. I'm getting that spark back. I'm getting my drive back to do podcasting again. If you guys know, there's been a period of last year where I haven't pod in weeks down to months because I just haven't had the passion. I was getting overwhelmed. I was getting mentally and drained from doing podcasting because it is a lot of work to do a podcast. But now that I'm fully rested and I'm back and I'm trying to be more ambitious and be purposeful when it comes down to the podcast stuff. I'm just really thankful for that as well. So happy Wednesday again. I want to welcome everybody that's tuned in on Instagram and LinkedIn live tonight. If you're watching the show Tuesday night, thank you guys so very much. But if you're missing the show Tuesday night, we do upload and do a premiere of the show at 8 a.m. the next following morning. So you get your podcast in, you get a lot of things in there. I think I'm gonna post this thing. I can talk about it on the show, Hope and Audience, but I think I'm posting it tonight as well. I post a post for my new movie Guardians. Now, Dear Isaiah is on its way to Apple TV and Prime Video, and we're writing the book, and we're getting ready to have the music back on platforms. Dear Isaiah is a very good project, but I wanted to talk about Guardians real quick because on the weekends or the time that I have free, I've been able to be with my producers and writers and animators in K.L.P Entertainment Studios, and we are making this new movie. It's called Guardians. You guys know, it was a movie that I made 5 years ago. It was kind of a crappy movie that I made 5 years ago, but now we have the technology and the tools to make the movie right. And Guardians is on its way out. And I've uploaded on social medias that I am voicing the main villain of Nightmare. I know I've been keeping that a secret because I had a voice actor back in the day to do Nightmare 5 years ago. I reached out to that same voice actor. He is not available. He is working on projects, and as everybody's independent, everybody's jumping on some projects. And kind of asked them too late to kind of hop on to do Nightmare again because he started working on his own indie projects. And I said, hey, by all means, I completely understand. As independents, you got to hop on some projects when you're already on a project. You can't hop on another project when you're too occupied to do this project. And we are recording our lines. We've been recording our lines for months now. We're still recording our lines, right? It's a process. But I decided to step up and voice this character, Nightmare. Nightmare is the main villain of Guardians, and I'm so excited because, as all the movies that I've done, I either played the good guy or I always played the thriller guy, minus the documentaries that we made. So I think this, and I don't even think I know, this is the first movie that I'm making that I'm playing the villain of this movie. I hope that you guys enjoy it. Nightmare is a cool character as a villain for this movie. I feel like a Robert Downer Jr. because if you guys know, Robert Downer Jr. is playing Doom in the next Avengers movie. So he was a hero for Marvel, and now he's playing a villain. It's that saying. I think I might have butchered the saying. You live long enough to become a hero, but if you live even longer to see yourself become a villain, that's even sweeter. So it's cool. It's very cool. Very excited for that when it comes down to it. I just I get very stoic about it. I get very stoic about a lot of things with content creating and making this movie. A lot of people did ask me when this movie is coming out. Ladies and gentlemen, this movie probably won't come out till late 2026, maybe early 2027. Yes, it's gonna take us a little while longer for Guardians because I want to make sure that this movie is correct. I want to make sure that this movie is right. And if it's not, I don't want to rush this one because yes, I will spoil it for a lot of people. We're going to make some spinoffs. We're going to make Guardians 2 and 3, and we're going to make Storm of Okra. We're going to remake that one, right? Shirai, a character that's in the movie, she might get a spinoff movie, right? So it's going to be a full series that we're working on. It's going to be some years, like 2028 is when Storm of Okra might be remade, right? Maybe, but we just want to take our time with Guardians because I put a lot of money into this making this movie. I'm still putting in some money to make this movie. So it has to go right. But I'm very, very excited, and I want to say to a lot of people, thank y'all because I've been posting glitz and glamours of us animating parts and bits of the movie, and it's been receptive, really, really, really well. So I thank y'all for that. It's been a crazy ride, and we're still on this this wild journey. So I wanted to talk about a kind of a music review. I think I want to start doing some music reviews when it comes down to it. The first music review is Chris Brown, Obvious. Chris Brown has this new song out called Obvious. I think I talked about it. Maybe what happened was podcast on Monday. I think we talked about Chris Brown and Usher going on tour. I won't rehash that. If you guys want to know our thoughts with me and Evelyn, go watch Monday's episode. But I listened to the song called Obvious, and Obvious was a song that was kind of out. A creator created this song, I'm assuming using AI, and it sounded like Chris Brown. Obviously, it wasn't Chris Brown. It has the likeness of Chris Brown, and Chris Brown probably heard and said, okay, I want to make this song myself. And he remade the song, and Obvious is born. It is available on all audio platforms. Chris Brown, again, is warming up for that potential May 8th album release. I think it's been announced that that album's coming out May 8th. It's called Brown, I think is what it's called. It's still kind of rumored. We don't know yet. May is around the corner. I look very, very excited for that as well. But as I shift gears from Chris Brown, because I don't want to harp on Chris Brown so much, I think I'm adapting a new style of my favorite rapper, Black Thought. So I was in the gym yesterday, clanging and banging, doing my thing per usual. And Black Thought came on to my recommendations. And I listened to quite a few Black Thought songs. If you guys don't know, he's a hit rapper that has kind of that Chicago, New York style of rapping a little bit. So I listened to a couple of songs with Black Thought. And I gotta say, I understand it. I understand his thought. I understand his logic in rapping. He's actually rapping about some legitimate stuff that he's been through. Right? And when you put him and the Alchemist together in a song together, along with maybe Currency. Now, Currency I've been listening to for a very long time. I picked up on Currency more from my big brother Alex because every time I'm riding with my big brother Alex, he's listening to Currency. I think Currency is actually one of his favorite rappers, I think. Because every time I'm in the car, he has some Currency song on it. And that's where I adapted the currency. Currency's a really good rapper. Again, he also has kind of that dope New York, um, Eastern feel to his songs. But Black Thought, I started to listen to, and I'm like, okay, I can bounce this. Oh, I can rock with this. And especially when you lifting weights and you listen to a Black Thought song, you really getting it in. It's really quite amazing. Um, to see the caliber of Black Thought's rapping style and to really see him go at it. And let me tell you, he goes at it. He goes at it with a fine toothpick comb. He's going at his songs and it's very rhythmic, it's very thoughtful, it's planned out really, really well, and it just works. And I like that in rappers. I like that rappers get to go in there and rap about legitimate shit and it just works. And now I've adapted a new favorite. I adapted a new favorite when it comes down to it because it is one of those things that is quite amazing to listen to, and I dabble into it. So if you guys don't know, Black Thought rapper, he's on all audio platforms you get your music from, but it's just we recommend Spotify, of course. But it is one of those things that I get very, very excited for. I dabble into it. I love it, and I love the thought process of Black Thought. Is quite amazing. He's a very good rapper when it comes down to it. Now, coming up next on Coffee Talk, presented and powered by Spotify. If you guys just now tuning in, we want to thank you guys so very, very much. This is the official, of course, podcast from K.L.P Entertainment, Coffee Talk, presented and powered by Spotify. And we want to thank Spotify again. If you're watching us, because Spotify has that thing where you can watch video podcasts on the app or on the web player of Spotify, or if you're in the car and you want to listen to us and you're listening to us right now, we thank you guys so very much. What I've started to do on this podcast, almost each and every episode, I try to do what I call my retro movie review. And I think I'm starting to enjoy that mostly because I've reviewed a lot of movies in the past few episodes and people have been loving it. So, this next retro movie review that I was able to cross over and watch from Tubi, and let me tell you, Tubi has been my source because Tubi, alone like your boy, I have quite a few movies on Tubi as well. I think we have Street Style 1 and 2 is on there. Not Hardline. Hardline's been taken off of everything. Heat and Prime is also on there as well. So, shout out to Tubi. That has some of our movies on there on that platform. But I was able to watch this movie that I watch again. And some of these, and when I do these retro movie reviews, it's just fun for the podcast. These movies I've seen 100 million times already. So there's this movie called Taxi, starring Queen Latifah and Jimmy Fallon. Now, of course, Dave and Hope is going to talk a little bit about Queen Latifah because she is now inducted into the, I want to say it was the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. So, very congratulations to her. Taxi, again, is this kooky movie. You got Queen Latifah, Jim Fallon with his acting skills, and that's kind of what procreated Jim Fallon to start for him to have his own talk show, I think. I mean, he's done other stuff too, but you know him from the movie Taxi. So essentially, what this movie is about, Queen Latifah's character, her name is Bill Williams, and she worked at a mechanic shop. She no longer works at a mechanic shop because she had her taxi license, and she is licensed to drive a taxi cab within the city of New York. That's her longtime dream. That is something that she wants to do, and hopes one day in her dream that she wants to make it to NASCAR. But taxi driver was her dream. She wants just to drive taxis in the city of New York. Meanwhile, um, Jimmy Fallon's character, his name is Andy Washburn. He's also in the city of New York because he is a New York cop. He is a New York cop who can't drive, who's corny, who's just like the kooky cop that always does everything wrong. There's always some mishaps that go with Washburn, with Jimmy Fallon, of course. There was a bank robber, and this is how the two characters meet. There's a bank robber, these four beautiful ladies. The head lady is Giselle Buncham, of course, the ex-wife of Tom Brady. I got to say it. They were married. She was married to Tom Brady. Have I think two kids with Tom Brady. They have divorced a few years back. That was kind of her first acting gig. I say to Giselle Buncham, I say to her with respect, I get you. We all know that she stick to modeling because her acting is just. I don't want to say atrocious, but it's not the greatest. You know, she was the top model, and she's still a model. She can still model in her own right, but she was the top model of that year. So of course, let's throw her in the movie because it's her model status. She's married at that time. She was married to Tom Brady, one of the greatest football players of all time, hands down. I've got some favors of football player, but Tom Brady's on that list. So of course, it's just kind of a marketing play for her to be the antagonist in this movie. They rob a bank, but then they're so slick and sly, they got away with the bank. Of course, Jimmy Fallon got the call that, hey, they're robbing a bank. Jim Fallon also goes to Queen Latifah and say, hey, she's getting ready for taxi. Hey, like, hey, taxi driver, take me to this route to a bank robbery. We got to chase it down. You're with me. Don't worry about the street lights. You're with a cop. Don't worry about it. So, of course, Queen Latifah said, okay, I'm having to meet a run. I got to do my job. They go to the bank robbery. Of course, there was going to be some shootouts, going to be a race out, and now that her taxi gets shot up by Jimmy Fallon because everything went wrong with the chasing of that, and now they have to lead the investigation to find out who these girls are. Belle Williams, played by Queen Latifah, she's also involved because now she's been running lights. She's been driving recklessly, doing some chase downs. Her car is tricked out with rims and a steering or racing wheel, and the taxi can transform. Again, that's the kookiness of this movie. The taxi car transform until what looked like a NASCAR, right? To do the chase downs, of course. She at first get her taxi taken away, but then they steal it back. Her license is almost got suspended, but then she gets it back. She's stuck with Jimmy Fallon. Meanwhile, she's also having a boyfriend. I forgot the character actor's name, but his character name is Jesse, big buff dude, big buff dude who at first was tired of Bill Williams skipping out on dinner because he was trying to propose to Bill Williams, played by Queen Latifah. But then again, she gets kicked out of her apartment, so she's staying with Andy's apartment, and then Andy has a mama who has Dehu, that Jimmy Fallon's character, the car kept bumping and bumping because Jimmy Fallon can't drive. So now they're going to a stakeout. They get kidnapped by the four ladies. They set the Dehu on fire, and that's how the movie collapsed together. Of course, in the end, as they're trying to solve these ladies, they're trying to figure out who these ladies are. Of course, they solve the case, and of course, now the girls get caught. They tried to do a money swap. They robbed the bank, but then the cops finally believe Washburn, played by Jimmy Fallon, and of course, they did a trade off. They were going to do a kidnapping for a kid, but then they traded with one of the lady cops, the lieutenant that's in the movie, doing a trade out, and then they doing a whole race through the highway kookiness, and of course the bridge wasn't finished, and then that's how the four ladies, one of them being Giselle Buchanan, Bunchin's character, they get caught. Of course, they're arrested. They're in prison for robbing these banks, and the banks of New York sponsor Bill Williams, and she becomes a NASCAR driver while getting proposed to Jesse. So, in the long shell, in the nutshell, is a kooky movie, right? It's a comedy, it's a buddy cop movie. It worked for the time. Everybody remembers the iconic taxi. Again, I've watched the movie millions and millions of time. Again, if you guys want to watch it and catch up on it, it is available on Tubi. Let me tell you, Tubi got something with their marketing. They're putting a lot of the retro movies on their network, and that's how they're getting that money up. So, very, very, very exciting. Now, before I turn it over to Hope and excuse me, no, Sarah and Hope, me and Sarah and Dave, me and Hope, we're going to talk about Queen Latifah and more news on the show as well in a minute. But I wanted to talk about this thing real quick because this has been a topic of conversation. If you guys know, you know, Chick-fil-A is one of my favorite restaurants to eat at. I love Chick-fil-A. There's been a topic of conversation that these group of employees, they were fired from the Chick-fil-A restaurant because they were doing what's called the move your chest dance. And basically what it is, every employee got on camera and they were moving their chest, and the ladies, of course, with their breast is going up and down, up and down, up and down, and then the males, it just kind of shakes a little bit. I'm going to say this with a humble heart, and I guess this is kind of what grinds my gears when it comes down to it. I'm going to be honest to a lot of people out there, to be careful what you post on social media. I'm going to sit there and say, because I saw another thing that a young lady that was doing some flexible stretches with the McDonald's uniform, and she got fired from that McDonald's because she was doing that and posted on the ground. Let me tell you how I feel, and I think millions of people feel the same way. Chick-fil-A, Chick-fil-A is a Christian family owned business, billion-dollar business that has multiple franchisees and multiple franchise stores worldwide. We all know what Chick-fil-A is. And it's weird because sometimes on Sundays you crave Chick-fil-A on Sundays, and obviously they're closed because they're never going to open their Chick-fil-A stores on Sunday because that is their morale. That is their company belief that, hey, we are a Christian-based restaurant. We're not going to be open on Sunday because we're supposed to be at church, right? If I was the owner of that exact franchise, Chick-fil-A. And it's really cool because you can actually own a franchisee. You could be a franchisee for Chick-fil-A. All you need, you have to be older than 35 and you have to have $10,000. That's not really a bad venture, but it's a lot of work that goes into it. But it's not really a bad venture. That's something I would look into. If I was the owner of that store, that franchisee Chick-fil-A store that these Chick-fil-A ex Chick-fil-A workers did that challenge to, I would have fired all of them too. I think it's inappropriate. I think because these workers, let me tell y'all something. These workers, they're speaking out on what they did. And they're trying to justify that they got fired unfairly by doing this. Let me tell you something. You cannot do that with these people's brand. Chick-fil-A is a brand. It's $1 billion brand. And if you are doing some stupid ass trend because you think you're going to get likes on TikTok, you are sadly mistaken. It is baffling to me that these workers think that they got a case, that they got fired unfairly because the ladies was doing the move your chest dance and their breasts are bouncing up and down risque like on this Christian based restaurant of Chick-fil-A. I would have fired all of them myself. I would have done the same thing without pay because you disrespected the brand. I gotta say to a lot of these dumbass Gen Z people that work these restaurants and have their brand on their work uniform and their name badge, and they're wearing the hat that says Chick-fil-A, and they're doing these stupid ass, dumbass, trendy ass dances for TikTok to get likes and clicks because you're risking your job for it. And I hate to cuss so much, but this makes me mad because, and I'm not really mad, guys. I'm just podcasting right now. It makes me a sort of upset because you lost a. Let me tell you, I'm gonna say this to a lot of people that's viewing this, and I tell my a lot of my friends this too. My friends, we all have jobs right now. It's a bad time to get fired from anything right now because let me tell you, the economy sucks. Rent is high, gas is high, groceries is high, bills are high, things are expensive. I wouldn't have not risked my job for something that stupid, especially for Chick-fil-A. Let me tell you, Chick-fil-A workers, they it's a lot of work, right? I go through Chick-fil-A, everybody's tired because their work it's a tiring job, but they do get paid fairly. It may not be millions of dollars. I won't say that because they're working hard for their coins. But everybody's working for something because they got some sort of bill to pay. They got to pay rent. They got to pay a car note. They got to pay a phone bill. They got to pay something. So they're not risking their jobs right now. And it's a bad time to get fired from anything right now because things are up. Things are expensive. It costs. The economy, and I'm here to say this, guys, and I'm not trying to be political, economy's not going to get any better right now. It's just not. So then you got these TikTok, these Gen Z people that's doing these dumb dances, and they're trying to justify Chick-fil-A fired me unfairly because I was moving my breast up and down. Duh. What do you expect? You disrespected the brand. I gotta say to a lot of people, and people know I have more job positions than just podcasting for you guys. As you guys know, and I talked about it freely, I'm a information technology technician, and I'm an audio engineer, and I'm also a lighting designer. But I don't disrespect where I work. I don't disrespect the brand. I don't even talk about where I work, right? Besides podcasting and doing other ventures and other business ventures that I've got, I won't get into because that's personal. I won't get into that. But I'm not going to disrespect my brands or the company that I'm having that I'm working with. I don't mention that because I you have to be careful. The slightest thing, if I wear my name badge where it shows my job credentials and I'm doing something risque, you best believe I'd be fired too. That's why I don't do those things. And for the case of the point, I'm 29. I'm getting ready to be 30. I don't do the dumb trendy dance at my workplace. I'm more mature than that. I'm an adult. I know how to keep things separate a little bit. I got to say to a lot of people, to the folks who got fired, again, I'm sorry to say, I don't feel bad for you losing your job. I really don't. I think it's a good thing that you lost your job because you made a poor decision as young adults. You made a poor decision, so I don't feel bad for you losing your job. It's gonna suck when you have rent that's due and you don't have a job. That's going to suck. But then you're gonna realize, like, damn, I shouldn't have done that. And honestly, I don't think you guys shouldn't have done it. And I'm not writing and I'm not advocating for Chick-fil-A because I'm not a corporate member of Chick-fil-A. I like Chick-fil-A. I do go to Chick-fil-A, but I don't feel bad for you guys because you did something stupid. I think a lot of people, especially in Gen Z, and I gotta say it's for Gen Z. I'm sorry to hate on you Gen Z people right now, but you don't see boomers doing this. You definitely, as sure as hell, don't see millennials doing this nowadays. It's the Gen Z people that are disrespecting where they work because they're doing these dumb, risque, uh, nudity or very inappropriate dances while wearing their work uniform while at work. It's inappropriate. It's inappropriate. Why are you dancing like that when you need to be taking orders? And if you got time to do that, you got time to fill orders. And that's why the lines are long at Chick-fil-A because you got young people who probably that was their first ever job, don't know what's appropriate and what's inappropriate. And now you have the lines backed up because you want to bounce your titties up and down. Make it make sense, Sway. Like I say, I don't feel bad. I don't feel bad for those people. And like I say, I'm not mad. I don't care. I'm just pine for y'all. But I don't feel bad when Gen Z cry when they lose their job when they're doing something stupid, right? I think again, I'm not harping on Gen Z, but let me tell y'all something. When you guys get that first job, that first big job, whether if you're working at a restaurant or you're doing an entry level job, you got to not do inappropriate things at work because that's how you get fired. There was a young man, real quick, there was a young man who did payroll. He was the head payroll guy. So he got people's social security numbers, people's bank accounts, and he's showing what he's doing at work. And then he got fired. And then he cried on TikTok that he got fired. Like, well, duh, because you are doing payroll. And now some of that personal information for people's payroll can get linked on social media and online. So I don't feel bad for you losing your job that way. We gotta make smart decisions, folks. We gotta make smart decisions at our workplace. Like I say, when I work in my different offices that I have around here in Atlanta, I don't really mention where I work necessarily. I'm not doing TikTok. I'm not showing off too much on what I'm doing at work because it's work. It's inappropriate. There's a right time and a right place to do stuff. You're not gonna catch me doing those silly dances on TikTok because I'm 29. I'm about to be 30. I'm too grown to do those silly ass dances on TikTok. But I digress. I'm gonna turn it over next, and then of course I'll be back to close the show, ladies and gentlemen. Stay tuned for more.
Wake up, y'all! It is now time for the front page news of the day on Coffee Talk presented by Spotify. Yeah!
Good morning, everyone. Okay, so here's something incredible. Wu-Tang Clan, the group that redefined hip-hop and built an empire out of their music, is officially being inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. This is one of those moments where music history feels like it's finally catching up to reality.
Oh, absolutely. Wu-Tang Clan isn't just a group. They're a cultural phenomenon. Their influence goes so far beyond music, and this induction feels like a recognition of their entire legacy, not just their discography.
And they're joining an amazing class this year. The class of 2026 includes Sade, Luther Vandross, Oasis, Iron Maiden, Phil Collins, Billy Idol, and Joy Division / New Order. It's such a diverse lineup, and it's great to see so many different genres and eras represented.
It really is. Each of those artists has left a unique mark on music history. But let's go back to Wu-Tang for a second because their story is so fascinating. They weren't just a group, they were a movement. The way they combined martial arts imagery, street narratives, and raw lyricism was completely revolutionary.
And their debut album, Enter the Wu-Tang 36 Chambers, is still considered one of the greatest hip-hop albums of all time. It wasn't just about the music, it was about the world they created. Every member brought something different to the table, and together they built this universe that fans could immerse themselves in.
And it wasn't just about the music either. Wu-Tang was one of the first hip-hop groups to treat their brand as an empire. They had clothing lines, video games, comic books, and even that infamous one-of-a-kind album, Once Upon a Time in Shaolin, which was sold as a collector's item. They were ahead of their time in so many ways.
And their influence is still felt today. You see it in newer artists who cite them as inspiration in the way hip-hop has become this global phenomenon. Wu-Tang played a huge role in making that happen. I mean, look at RZA's reaction to the induction. He said, "In all humility, this announcement filled me with joy, proudness, profound achievement, and awe." And then he ended it with, "This is a true triumph. Wu-Tang forever."
That Wu-Tang Forever line gave me chills, and Raekwon's reaction was just as heartfelt. He called it his Grammy and gave a shout out to their mothers, saying, "They won tonight." I love how he brought it back to family. There's always been this sense of brotherhood and community with Wu-Tang, and it's clear that extends to their families too.
GCA's response was really thoughtful as well. He made a point to acknowledge their predecessors in hip-hop as well as their fans, collaborators, friends and family. It's a reminder that no one achieves something like this alone, especially in a genre like hip-hop, which is so deeply rooted in community and collaboration.
And that's what makes their induction so special. Wu-Tang isn't just a group, they're a cultural institution. They've always been about more than just music. They brought this whole philosophy, this mythology, to hip-hop. And now, with this induction, it feels like they're being recognized for the full scope of their impact.
And speaking of impact, we also have Queen Latifah and MC Lyte joining the Hall of Fame this year as recipients of the Early Influence Award. That's another milestone worth celebrating.
Oh, absolutely. Queen Latifah and MC Lyte are pioneers in every sense of the word. They broke barriers not just as women in hip-hop, but as artists who brought intelligence, empowerment, and authenticity to their music. They paved the way for so many others.
And it's not just about their music. Both of them have had such multifaceted careers. Queen Latifah, for example, has done everything. She's an actress, a producer, a talk show host. She's shown that you don't have to be confined to one box. And MC Lyte has been a trailblazer in her own right, especially when it comes to advocating for women in the industry.
It's so important to see them recognized in this way. The Early Influence Award is perfect for them because it highlights their role as trailblazers. They were doing this at a time when the industry wasn't exactly welcoming to women, especially in hip-hop. Their success opened doors for so many others.
And with the addition of Wu-Tang, Queen Latifah, and MC Lyte, there are now 18 hip-hop acts in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. That's a significant number. But it also makes you realise how much further we have to go in terms of representation.
Right? Hip-hop has been around for 50 years now, and it's one of the most influential genres in the world. But when you look at the Hall of Fame, it's clear that it's still catching up to that reality. I mean, Grandmaster Flash and the Furious Five were the first hip-hop act to be inducted, and that was in 2007. That's not that long ago.
Exactly. After them, we had Run DMC, Beastie Boys, Public Enemy, NWA, and then others like Jay-Z, Eminem, Tupac, Biggie, Outkast, Missy Elliott, and A Tribe Called Quest. But it's a slow process. And then you have artists like LL Cool J, Salt and Pepper, and DJ Kool Herc, who've been recognised with other awards like the Early Influence or Musical Excellence Award, but not necessarily inducted in the traditional sense.
It's a reminder that the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame is still evolving. And I think this year's class is a step in the right direction. It's diverse, it's inclusive, and it's honoring artists who've had a profound impact on music and culture.
And let's not forget the artists who were nominated this year but didn't make it. Lauryn Hill, Mariah Carey and Shakira. That's a tough group to leave out, but it just shows how competitive the process is. Hopefully we'll see them in the Hall of Fame in the near future.
Definitely. Lauryn Hill in particular feels like a no-brainer to me. Her impact on music and culture is undeniable, but I'm optimistic that her time will come.
Same here. And I think that's one of the great things about the Hall of Fame. It's not just about who gets in, but about starting conversations around these artists and their legacies. It's a chance to celebrate their contributions and think about what they mean to us.
And this year's ceremony is going to be one for the books. It's happening on November 14th at the Peacock Theater in Los Angeles, and it'll be available to watch in December on ABC and Disney+. I can't wait to see how they honor all these incredible artists.
Me neither. It's going to be such a powerful moment, especially for hip-hop fans. Seeing Wu-Tang, Queen Latifah and MC Lyte get their flowers on such a big stage, it's going to be emotional.
And it's a reminder of why these moments matter. They validate the impact these artists have had, not just on music, but on culture as a whole. It's about preserving their legacies and making sure future generations understand their importance.
Exactly. And it's also about inspiring the next generation of artists. When they see someone like Wu-Tang Clan or Queen Latifah in the Hall of Fame, it shows them what's possible. It's a powerful message.
Well said. Here's to celebrating these incredible artists and all they've given us. Wu-Tang forever, indeed.
Wu-Tang forever.
Wake up, y'all!
It is now time for the front page news of the day on Coffee Talk presented by Spotify.
Yeah.
Boy, howdy, folks. So imagine this. There's a machine in Paris that can cool things down to minus 273 degrees Celsius. Absolute zero. That's the point where even the tiniest particles stop moving. And inside that machine, it's not just science fiction, is the future of computing.
Oh, that's already got my attention. Are we talking about quantum computing here? Because that's one of those topics that feels like it's straight out of a sci-fi movie. But it's happening right now.
Exactly. And at the center of this story is a French company with the most unassuming name. Alice and Bob. It sounds like a boutique bakery or maybe a quirky coffee shop, but no, they're building quantum computers. And not just any quantum computers. They're aiming to solve some of the biggest challenges in the field.
That's such a contrast, isn't it? A name like Alice and Bob, but they're working on technology that could revolutionize industries. What's their big breakthrough?
Well, let's start with the basics. Quantum computers rely on qubits, which are these incredibly fragile systems that can exist in multiple states at once. The problem is they're prone to errors because they're so sensitive to their environment. Alice and Bob are tackling this with something called cat qubits, named after Schrodinger's cat. These are designed to be more robust and less error prone.
Oh, I love that they're leaning into the Schrodinger's cat reference. It's such a perfect metaphor for quantum mechanics. But how exactly do these cat qubits work? What makes them different?
So the idea is to create a system that can self-correct. Traditional qubits are so fragile that even the tiniest disturbance can throw them off. Cat qubits, on the other hand, are engineered to be more stable by essentially encoding redundancy into their states. It's like having a built-in safety net. And this stability is crucial if you want to scale up quantum computers to tackle real-world problems.
That's fascinating. And scaling up is really the key, isn't it? Because right now, quantum computers are still in their infancy. They're powerful, but they're not yet practical for most applications.
Exactly. But Alice and Bob are betting that their approach will change that. They're building a $50 million facility north of Paris to manufacture their own chips and test larger machines. Their CEO, Théo Perronin, believes that in just a few years, we'll have reliable quantum computers that can be integrated with high-performance computers in data centers. That's when things get really interesting.
So they're not just building quantum computers, they're building the infrastructure to make them practical and scalable. That's a huge leap forward. What kind of problems are they hoping to solve with this technology?
The possibilities are almost endless, but one of the most exciting areas is medicine. Right now, developing new drugs is largely a process of trial and error. With quantum computers, you could simulate how molecules interact on a massive scale. Imagine being able to predict exactly how a new drug will work and what side effects it might have before it's even tested in a lab.
That's incredible. It could completely transform the pharmaceutical industry. And it's not just medicine, right? Quantum computing has applications in fields like climate modeling, cryptography, and material science.
Absolutely. One of the most exciting things is how quantum computing could tackle problems that are currently considered intractable. For example, optimizing supply chains or solving complex logistical challenges. These are problems that classical computers struggle with because the number of variables is just too large.
It's like opening a door to a whole new level of problem solving. But I imagine the competition in this field must be intense. Alice and Bob can't be the only ones working on these breakthroughs.
You're right. The competition is fierce. In France alone, there are several other companies working on quantum computing like Pascal, Quandela, Quobly, and C12. Each of them is exploring different approaches to building a reliable quantum computer. And globally, you've got giants like Google and IBM in the mix.
That's a lot of players in the game, but it sounds like France has a pretty strong ecosystem for quantum computing. What's driving that?
A big part of it is government support. France has a program called Proxima, which is focused on developing a useful quantum computer. Companies like Alice and Bob are considered national champions under this initiative. And then there's the talent pool. France has a long history of excellence in physics and mathematics, which are crucial for quantum computing.
That makes sense. It's like they've got all the pieces in place to be a major player in this field. But what about the challenges? What's standing in the way of making quantum computing a reality?
The biggest challenge is still fragility. Even with innovations like cat qubits, quantum systems are incredibly sensitive. They need to be isolated from their environment, which is why you see these cryostats that cool to absolute zero. And then there's the issue of scaling up. Building a quantum computer that can solve real-world problems requires thousands, if not millions, of qubits.
So it's not just about making the technology work. It's about making it work at scale. That's a huge hurdle, but it sounds like Alice and Bob are making progress. What's their timeline for getting a practical quantum computer up and running?
Their CEO is optimistic. He thinks we'll see reliable quantum computers within a few years. And once that happens, the impact could be enormous. He even called it a winner-takes-all scenario, like what happened with classical computers and IBM.
That's a bold prediction, but if they're right, the company that gets there first could dominate the industry. It's like a modern-day space race, but for computing.
Exactly. And it's not just about the technology, it's also about the business model. Alice and Bob are positioning themselves to be leaders in this space, not just in terms of innovation, but also in terms of commercialization. They're building the infrastructure to scale up and bring quantum computing to market.
It's such an exciting time to be following this field. The potential applications are so transformative, and the stakes are so high. It really feels like we're on the cusp of something big.
We are. And it's not just about solving problems. It's about expanding what's possible. Quantum computing has the potential to change the way we think about computation itself. It's a whole new paradigm.
And that's such a powerful idea. And it's a reminder of what's possible when you combine curiosity, ambition, and a willingness to tackle the unknown.
Well said. Thanks for the conversation as always. Until next time.
Until next time.
Wake up! Get up! We starting the day!
Let's get into it. Our top story of the day on Coffee Talk presented by Spotify.
Turn it up! Let's go.
Good morning, everyone. This is Coffee Talk presented by Spotify. Get this, Piotr Babieno, CEO of developer Bloober Team, has just confirmed that the studio has 7 games that are currently in development. While Bloober Team has previously talked about 3 of these in-development titles, the remaining 4 are still clouded in mystery. Bloober Team has come a long way since its founding in 2008. While the Polish studio got its start making portable games alongside Nibris, It really started to gain traction in the late 2010s with horror releases like Layers of Fear, Observer, and Blair Witch. Bloober Team has continued to capitalize on its psychological horror niche throughout the start of the 2020s, releasing games like The Medium, the Layers of Fear remake, and its two most recent and most acclaimed titles, Silent Hill 2 Remake and Chronos, The New Dawn. Bloober Team's continued growth has reached a new milestone today. Speaking with games industry, Biz, Bloober Team CEO Piotr Babieno has just confirmed that the studio and its subsidiaries are currently working on a total of 7 video game projects. Babieno also confirmed that Bloober Team was shifting to a multi-project structure, in which its 2 first-party production teams will work on 2 games simultaneously. Explaining the decision to shift to a multi-project structure, Babieno told Games Industry Biz the following. According to Babieno himself, the 2 first-party Bloober Team studios are working on what defines Bloober Team: single-player horror experiences with strong gameplay foundations, premium execution, and themes that resonate on a deeper emotional or social level. It's believed that these 2 projects are Project H and Project M, 2 games that Bloober Team has mentioned previously but haven't been revealed in full just yet. While Project H is said to be the studio's new flagship title and a brand new, original IP, Project M is believed to be a Nintendo console exclusive. Along with growing its first-party studios, Bloober Team is also looking to expand its subsidiary studio, Broken Mirror Games. 5 games are reportedly in various stages of development at Broken Mirror Games, one of which is the recently announced Layers of Fear 3. It's currently unclear what the other 4 projects are, though it was confirmed back in October 2025 that the Silent Hill 1 remake had entered full production at Bloober Team. Bloober Team has expanded its leadership team to better accommodate this multi-project shift and the continued growth of the company. Bloober Team has appointed 3 new leaders. Thane Lyman, a former Activision and Wargaming senior leader, has become Bloober Team's new head of studio. Katia Bakova, who has prior experience with both Techland and CD Projekt Red, is now Bloober Team's Director of Business Development. And former CEO of indie studio Collaborator SA, Michael Jembicki, is Bloober's new head of publishing. Arc Raiders players have yet another new update to download, as developer Embark Studios has rolled out patch 1.2 on April 14th, bringing some important bug fixes to the shooter ahead of the Big Riven Tides update later this month. The latest Arc Raiders update is available to download now on PlayStation 5, Xbox Series X/S, and PC. And while it doesn't include any new content for fans to check out, there are some much-needed bug fixes. With plans to support Arc Raiders for the next 10 years, Embark has been delivering a steady stream of large content updates and smaller hotfixes consistently since the shooter's launch in October 2025. After sharing the 2026 roadmap for Arc Raiders in early January, the studio kicked things off with the Headwinds update, which added a controversial 1v3 matchmaking option to the game, a minor map condition exclusive to Buried City, and more. Then, just a few weeks later, fans were treated to another major content update, Shrouded Sky. The patch added another map condition, this time featuring a new hurricane weather element for all maps, 2 new Arc enemies, and more. Following the release of Arc Raiders' big Flashpoint update a few weeks ago, and ahead of the game's new Riven Tides update at the end of April, Embark Studios has released another smaller patch for players to download. The 1.24.0 update brings a handful of important fixes to Arc Raiders, as detailed in the official patch notes further down this article. Embark says it has once again addressed several issues that could cause the game to crash, and has also fixed an issue affecting the new Vanguard set, which was released in last week's update. Arc Raiders players have yet another new update to download, as developer Embark Studios has rolled out patch 1.24.0 on April 14th, bringing some important bug fixes to the shooter ahead of the Big Riven Tides update later this month. The latest Arc Raiders update is available to download now on PlayStation 5, Xbox Series X/S, and PC. And while it doesn't include any new content for fans to check out, there are some much-needed bug fixes. With plans to support Arc Raiders for the next 10 years, Embark has been delivering a steady stream of large content updates and smaller hotfixes consistently since the shooter's launch in October 2025. After sharing the 2026 roadmap for Arc Raiders in early January, the studio kicked things off with the Headwinds update, which added a controversial 1v3 matchmaking option to the game, a minor map condition exclusive to Buried City, and more. Then, just a few weeks later, fans were treated to another major content update, Shrouded Sky. The patch added another map condition, this time featuring a new hurricane weather element for all maps, 2 new Arc enemies, and more. Remove ads. Arc Raiders player standing in front of a wasp. Related. New Arc Raiders trials for April 6th might include the hardest challenge to date. Embark Studios reveals a new set of Arc Raiders trials for April 6th to 12th, with one challenge in particular possibly being the most difficult one yet. By K.L.P. April 6th, 2026. Arc Raiders releases new update for April 14th. 3 Raiders and Arc Raiders holding their weapons while on Buried City. Arc Raiders players aiming at each other while a queen watches. Arc Raiders characters holding weapons following the release of Arc Raiders' big Flashpoint update a few weeks ago, and ahead of the game's new Riven Tides update at the end of April. Embark Studios has released another smaller patch for players to download. The 1.24.0 update brings a handful of important fixes to Arc Raiders, as detailed in the official patch notes further down this article. Embark says it has once again addressed several issues that could cause the game to crash, and has also fixed an issue affecting the new Vanguard set, which was released in last week's update. Also fixed in the 1.24.0 Arc Raiders update is an audio issue that caused players and Arc to sound quieter than intended when there was no line of sight on Stella Montis, an issue that was causing blurry visuals when AMD FSR frame generation was enabled, and more. And after suddenly removing the Weather Monitor Station project with last month's Flashpoint update, the studio has now said that anybody who contributed to the project but could not complete it in time should check their in-game inboxes in a few days. It's unclear if Embark is giving players the remaining rewards from the project, or if players will be receiving a different type of compensation. Arc Raiders players have yet another new update to download, as developer Embark Studios has rolled out patch 1.24.0 on April 14th, bringing some important bug fixes to the shooter ahead of the big Riven Tides update later this month. The latest Arc Raiders update is available to download now on PlayStation 5, Xbox Series X/S, and PC. And while it doesn't include any new content for fans to check out, there are some much-needed bug fixes. With plans to support Arc Raiders for the next 10 years, Embark has been delivering a steady stream of large content updates and smaller hotfixes consistently since the shooter's launch in October 2025. After sharing the 2026 roadmap for Arc Raiders in early January, the studio kicked things off with the Headwinds update, which added a controversial 1v3 matchmaking option to the game, a minor map condition exclusive to Buried City, and more. Then, just a few weeks later, fans were treated to another major content update, Shrouded Sky. The patch added another map condition, this time featuring a new hurricane weather element for all maps, 2 new Arc enemies, and more. Arc Raiders player standing in front of a wasp. Related. New Arc Raiders trials for April 6th might include the hardest challenge to date. Embark Studios reveals a new set of Arc Raiders trials for April 6th to 12th, with one challenge in particular possibly being the most difficult one yet. Arc Raiders releases new update for April 14th. 3 Raiders and Arc Raiders holding their weapons while on Buried City. Arc Raiders players aiming at each other while a queen watches. Arc Raiders characters holding weapons. Following the release of Arc Raiders' big Flashpoint update a few weeks ago, and ahead of the game's new Riven Tides update at the end of April, Embark Studios has released another smaller patch for players to download. The 1.24.0 update brings a handful of important fixes to Arc Raiders, as detailed in the official patch notes further down this article. Embark says it has once again addressed several issues that could cause the game to crash, and has also fixed an issue affecting the new Vanguard set, which was released in last week's update. Also fixed in the 1.24.0 Arc Raiders update is an audio issue that caused players and Arc to sound quieter than intended when there was no line of sight on Stella Montis, an issue that was causing blurry visuals when AMD FSR frame generation was enabled, and more. And after suddenly removing the Weather Monitor Station project with last month's Flashpoint update, the studio has now said that anybody who contributed to the project but could not complete it in time should check their in-game inboxes in a few days. It's unclear if Embark is giving players the remaining rewards from the project, or if players will be receiving a different type of compensation. Embark also reminded players that the current high-gain antenna project will expire before the release of Arc Raiders Big Riven Tides update, which is assumed to be launching on Tuesday, April 28th. Specific details on the next content update are still to be revealed, but the 2026 roadmap does confirm that fans can expect a brand new map, a new large arc enemy type, presumably similar in scale to the likes of the Queen and the Matriarch, and the departure for the third expedition. Unfortunately, it doesn't look like there are any adjustments to the lighting in Stella Montis. Over the last few weeks, complaints about the brightness of a particular variation of Stella Montis have become much more frequent, as the community is calling for Embark to make a major change. Despite there being a dedicated night raid for Stella Montis, those who jump into a day raid still have the chance to play on a version of Stella Montis that has incredibly dark sections. Fans with OLED monitors have complained that it is impossible to see anything on the map, but Embark has yet to address the issue.
That's going to wrap it up here, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, on the podcast Coffee Talk, powered and presented by Spotify. I just want to say thank you guys so very much for tuning in for the show as well. So again, you guys, you get Tuesday night if you're watching tonight, and then Wednesday. You won't have Wednesday night and Thursday because I have a later day start for the next day that's coming. So you might get a Friday episode. So stay tuned. But again, we gave you guys what happened was on Monday and Play Grid Sports yesterday. So a lot of podcasting. There's a lot of content that's still out that you guys can take a look, but we hope that you guys enjoyed this episode. Everybody, please stay safe. People in my offices, they're still getting sniffly. Some people are calling out sick. It's still pollen season. I was able to wash my car, and pollen washed off my car, but there is still some pollen that's looming around. We're looking at 80 degrees up to 90 degrees at the end of this week. So everybody stay hydrated, stay safe, love, peace, and respect from our entire cast and crew here with Coffee Talk, presented and powered by Spotify. We love you guys, and we'll see you guys in the next episode. Until then, this has been your main host, K.L.P. Kennedy Lucas, saying peace, love, and respect from the studio. Love you guys. Peace.